this would be Thursday, January 28th, not February. We're going to begin Greek mythology. This is regular class. See, as we get into it, there are posters around the room which you cannot see on the screen, so don't worry about it. When you get here for the live version, you can see them. Bell work that we're going to add in, and we also have a checkpoint due tomorrow for the book report. And when you go there, you're going to download 2 files from my website, one that says the Greek God Family Tree, one that says List of Important Gods. There's a new little section on the website that says Greek Mythology, so you can download the stuff from there. For the bell work, you're going to want to hit pause. It's like right there. Hit pause so that you can go through what you're going to do is write 4 columns, gods, places, things, other stuff, and you're going to put these 20 words into those columns where you think they go. So is chaos a god, a place, a thing, or other stuff? The columns will not be equal, so don't worry about that part. And then you're going to write a story, which you have to use at least 10 of the words, and you're going to do 5 sentences, which is like 19 words, but even more. And then you're just going to randomly plug the words into it and stuff like that. I think that catches up to that point. Then, before we get into the Greek mythology, things I wanted to cover with you. I said things that pop up as we begin this unit. One, we're going to be doing it for a while. One, because it's spread out. We're going to be doing Greek mythology like every 3 days, because we're going to be doing the speeches still and then book report for a while. So we're going to be doing Greek mythology in theory up until around end of March. As we get closer to it, we'll start to be increasing like 2 days a week, 3 days a week, then eventually like the full week. The other part that pops up, Mr. Brovicast, Greek mythology, isn't that social studies? Well, technically, yes. But the joy of English is as long as it has words in it, I can teach it. And so Greek mythology is full of words. So I sort of get to do whatever I want with English, which is one of the reasons why I like teaching English. So we're going to do Greek mythology. With Greek mythology, essentially it's a whole bunch of short stories that all star the same characters. And so the characters in the posters that you see around the room are going to be the ones that keep popping up in all of these stories as we get through into it. So they're all going to connect together. If you've done Greek mythology and social studies in the past, go you. If you've never done Greek mythology before, go you. The information I cover will work for both of you. The posters are going to stay up the entire time. So when we get to quizzes and we get to tests, I don't take them down. So if you get used to looking at the posters to help you, you can keep looking at them for the quizzes. Because if I took them down, that'd be mean. And that's just not what I'm going to do. The handout that you downloaded, you can use that. All that information, you can help you. Typically, Greek mythology, kids do well because the stories are entertaining. It's basically a giant soap opera, and it has drama just nonstop. What makes it tough is the names, because half the names are like 12 letters long and have random consonants thrown in. So they get confusing, which is why I leave all the posters up and give you guys the handouts so it makes things a little bit easier. But typically, kids enjoy them. You will have questions as we get into Greek mythology, but the problem is we're going to get to it. We're going to be spending weeks going over this, so when you raise in, but didn't this guy kill this guy? Probably. Didn't this girl be friendly with this person? Probably. Didn't it? Probably. So I'm going to end up answering it all with, yeah, we'll get to it eventually. I can't teach it all in one day, because that'd be a really, really long day, and no one can spend that much time with me. Eventually, one of the 2 of us would go insane. So we spread it out over time. It'll be okay. We'll eventually get to it. Also, raising your hand is not going to do you much good, because I'm going to be ignoring you for long periods of time so I can get through whatever part I am. Eventually I'll stop and then I'll take your questions, but I figured I'd get to this one eventually and we'll help you guys out. Mythology is based on religion. This was a religion at one time. Anytime that you have mythology of any kind, Norse mythology, Greek mythology, Egyptian mythology, Christian mythology, it means it's connected to a religion, that people prayed to these people. They were called gods for a reason. They were called gods because they were gods. They were thought to be the thing that people prayed to. At the time, it was not multiple religions. You didn't get to be Christian or Jewish or Greek mythology. It was just you either worshipped these gods or you were dead. Those were your 2 options. And most people are like, well, I'm going to worship them. So then you were good to go as far as that went. Do people still worship them today? No. Anyone that does still worship them wears a really tight white coat and lives in a padded room. They're not like out running around on an island or anything like that. There's no little groups of people that worship all of them. Then why do we still study them? Because they show up in tons of stories. As we start getting into Greek mythology, you're going to start bringing up connections all the time. in Pretty Little Liars, this girl has this name. Is that because? Yeah, there's a direct connection. That's why they named her that. In this movie, this guy did. Yep, there's a. So you're going to see, as we start learning more about Greek mythology, you're going to see connections in almost every TV show, movie that's out there. They're going to have something that pulls from Greek mythology. The more you know about it, the more you're going to understand all those TV shows you watch. This unit does equal some of the most B points kids lose. The reason being, kids enjoy it. When kids enjoy things, they talk a lot. And the more you talk, it's going to cost you points. For some of you, that's going to be bad. Because as we get into it, you're going to be like, Mr. Brovicast, that's really exciting. I just want to yell at you and talk. I'm like, now that's where the bad stuff comes in. So I hate to say temper your enjoyment of school, but temper your enjoyment of school. Keep your yelling to me at a minimum. So I'll try to be as nice as I can, but when you become distracting and slow me down, it gets a little bit tougher. So it's usually loss of points, not for a bad thing, but for a good thing. The other good thing that kids seem to enjoy about it is there's not a lot of reading homework for this. Because a lot of these stories connect to oral tradition, which we did with fables. Do you guys remember what oral tradition is? Mr. Brobeck, that was like 2 weeks ago. Carly?
It's like passed down.
Yeah, where the stories get passed down. That's how Greek mythology came to us today. All of these stories were being passed down. But the problem with oral tradition is what happens to the stories when they get passed down. And what happens to our stories as they get passed down, Joseph?
They change.
They change. A lot of these stories, if you guys have read Percy Jackson, or if you've seen the movies, or if you've read anything that deals with Greek mythology, or you've done Greek mythology in the past, the stories are going to be different. It's okay. There's multiple versions of all of these stories. But that's not what I saw this one time. It's okay. There's different versions of all of these things out there. The problem is, I've read tons of Greek mythology. And so what I did was just take bits and pieces of the different stories and combine them together to make them more interesting. And I tried to chop out all the boring bits and just put the fun bits together. But because of that, I have no paper handout to give you to read. Yay! The drawback is if you miss class. If you miss class, there is nothing for you to go and read to catch back up. So what do we do? It's a good thing I record class. So anytime you miss a class, you're going to have to watch the video. Because if not, we're going to come to a quiz and you're going to say, I don't know anything about these characters. I'll say, well, I told that story on Tuesday. They go, well, I was gone that day. I go, did you watch the video? No, I'm lazy. Then you're going to fail. I don't know what you want me to tell you. So anytime you miss it, you're going to have to watch. That's the good thing about not having the written form, is you don't have to go back and read the story, but you will have to go back and listen. Before we get to this then, any questions from there?
No.
I did have. Never mind. I just do.
Aaliyah?
Is there, like, dang, what was I gonna say?
I don't know. That's not a good question.
Yeah. I forgot what
Cassidy.
No, never mind.
Problem solved. All right. What we're going to do is, here are my 4 columns. Gods, places, things, and other stuff. And then the words you guys had up there. I'm going to show you where the words are supposed to go. All I want you to be able to do is, if you want to erase it, you can. But I would just say draw an arrow. So if you put Prometheus in the wrong spot, just draw an arrow to where it goes. And that's fine with me. If you're a perfectionist and want to rewrite it, I'm okay with it, but I don't require you to do that much work. My goal right now is just to see if you have where you put things. So, and I'm going to begin explaining some of our story. Because a lot of what Greek mythology will be is me telling you guys stories. And those stories begin today. Yay, stories. So the first one we're going to have is chaos. I'm going to have you vote to see which one we think it goes into. Between gods, places, things, and other stuff. So chaos, raise your hand if you say it goes in gods. Places, things, other stuff. Chaos is the first one that you can't get wrong. It goes in all 4.
It does.
I put it in 2 just to make it easier for me, but it is both a god, a place, a thing, and an other stuff. It's all of them.
What?
Mr. Broviac, that's impossible. Well, let's help you out.
Trick us?
Not tricking you, I'm educating you. If you were to use these things called posters, you would see chaos written right up here. And so Chaos is on that poster. He eventually gave birth to Gaia and Uranus and then all the other gods. On your handout, you have the one you downloaded that was the family tree. And on there, you also have Chaos, and he's in that spot too. What is Chaos? Well, all right. So in Greek mythology, what the Greeks believed, before we had humans and gods and animals and planets, there was nothing. There was just a swirling ball of nothing that was out in space. And this big swirling ball of nothing just sat out there and swirled. Mr. Brovicast, what does nothing look like? I don't know, because it's nothing. So we're going to describe it as chocolate pudding. That way you can imagine it in your head. And chocolate pudding's delicious. So imagine there's just a big giant ball of chocolate pudding just going, pudding, 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 just swirling around. And for millions of years, that's all it is. Until eventually one day, the pudding gets bored, because it's pudding, and the pudding decides to form the very first two gods to exist. And the pudding goes, pudding, and then splits to form these first two gods. And the first two gods are Uranus and Gaia. Uranus becomes Father Sky, Gaia becomes Mother Earth. And so they're gods, and they're actually the earth and the sky. So chaos eventually creates everything. Creates the gods, so it creates the earth, which is a place. It creates eventually becomes all the things, and it's eventually other stuff. So I put chaos in any of those spots. So wherever you put chaos, you're good to go. The next one, Kronos. Raise your hand if Kronos is a god.
Hold on, let me find it.
You can find it.
Okay, I found
God, place, thing, other stuff. Kronos. That sounds like a you issue. Kronos is a god. He's also one up here. He's above Aaliyah. Looks like he's getting ready to go golfing with little people. He's got the little golf club behind him. It's a thing called a scythe, which we're going to get to. He used it to kill his father, which we're going to get to. Oh, one of the other joyous things about Greek mythology is all the, like I told you, it's like a soap opera. There's a lot of drama involved. People just kill each other all the time. Kids kill parents. Kids kill each other. And there's also a lot of, to think of the best way to put it, there's a lot of friendliness in Greek mythology. And if you were to look at the family tree, you'll see the fact that Zeus has lots of children from lots of different people, because Zeus was very friendly. Zeus went around and made lots of friends. I try to keep it as school appropriate as possible.
He made love with lots of
Made lots of friends. And so over here we have a family tree thing, and so that's Zeus up there at the top, and then that's Zeus, and then that's Zeus, and then that's Zeus, and that's Zeus, and then that's Zeus, and those are all different people. Yeah, that's nowadays we would refer to Zeus as a player. At the time, we just said that Zeus was friendly. Kronos was Zeus's father, and so Kronos is one of the first gods who, one, kills his own father because issues, and then two is killed by his own children because issues. It's one of the first stories we'll get a chance to get into. So we'll get into Kronos. Yeah, I see it. Not calling it. And then still not
We've
calling
had
it.
health class.
That's
You
good
know,
stuff. Not friendliness. I know it. As we're watching those points just disappear, there are 8 points. And then we get down to Hades. Is Hades a god? Place? Thing? Other stuff? Hades goes in two. Gods, and places. You can put it in both. Gods and places. Because one, he's an actual god. And once again, Aaliyah's in a good seat today.
Hi!
Hello. Hades is the one that's right up here. And then Hades is also the location, because he was not very creative. And so it's what he called the place where he lived. It's basically if you were to move to a town, you're like, I'm going to call this town Joeyville. Because that's just what you want to do. That's what he did. He named the place where he lived after himself. He had some vanity issues. He thought he was all that in a bag of chips. Maybe 2 bags of chips. Noel. He was. And the Hades is the same name as the underworld. And that's enough learning. Hi, bro. Tomorrow we have book report checkpoints, and Monday we get back to speeches, and Tuesday we'll come back to this. Now we can